Going, stop picking med crew because they're med. The end. You see that Pulaski? Don't take her.
Pardon me.
Right. Oh, sugar. I need to not send us to the stream.
It was very stimulating. Not yet. Quite stimulating, wouldn't you say? Come in, Alexander. No. Not yet. Alexander. Not yet. Quite stimulating, wouldn't you say? It was very stimulating. Not yet. Alexander. No, no, no. Alexander. It was very stimulating. Quite stimulating, wouldn't you say? Not yet. Alexander. Not yet. Not yet. It was very stimulating. Not yet. No, no, no. It was very stimulating.
I'm out of slots again. I can't believe I'm out of slots again. A card collecting game should have more space, my friend. Yet somehow I've run out of slots again. I'm out of slots again. Oh, Jorlon True can't keep my Romulan. I've thrown too many crew out the airlock, my friend. I can't believe I'm out of slots again. I'm out of slots again. Like a game of Pokemon with just one red ball. I know good things will send, but they will too soon if you keep thinking so small. Walk down the hall and tell them we need more slots again. I'm getting tired of saying he's dead, Jim. It's simple logic, you green-blooded hobgoblin. I can't believe I'm out of slots again. Mr. Spock, we are out of slots again.
That, sir, is illogical.
That's what I told them.
Most unpleasant situation, Captain.
Oh, it just sucks.
Being a red-blooded human obviously has its disadvantages.
Yes, it does, Mr. Spock. Yes, it does.
Affirmative.
I'm out of slots again. Like a replicator not programmed with Earl Grey. Shall always be your friend. But without slots you are going out the hard way.
Shut up, Wesley.
I'm out of slots again. Bajorans, Vulcans, and Endorians. I guess today is a good day to die, my friends. I'd say live long, but we're out of slots again. My crew so long, cause we're out of slots again.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live in Technicolor from the beautiful Hollywood Hills, California. The show where the total retail price of their advice is $0. This is Timelines Talks. Featuring guest musical performers, Metallica frontman, oh my, it's Stars and Garter. Also featuring, hey buddy, you're a tier high. Look out, it's Automaton 2000. And now, from Spreadsheet City, here's your host, Captain Idol.
Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another fantastic, wonderful edition of Timelines Talks. The premium, the number one, the fantastic, the immaculate Star Trek Timelines Talk Show. Nearly got there. I'm joined by my co-hosts, as always, Automaton 2000 and Stars and Garters. Gentlemen, how are we this fine evening?
Doing pretty good.
I am curious, how many shows have we been doing and you're still working on that shit?
I'll get there one day. One day I'll have it memorized instead of on my scrawled piece of paper in the front of my face.
I have faith in you. I have faith in the heart.
No, we had that. How are we feeling about our crew slot situation after that song? Does that give you the motivation to hopefully there will be a sail?
Yeah, so that was...
Are you okay?
No.
All right, stop drinking, Idol. That was submitted by viewer, I think he's Shia Porn in the YouTube comments. Shai Khan, in fact, we looked at his roster a few weeks back for the citation advice episode and got to talking with him, and he offered that, and that was too good not to share with everyone. So thank you for that.
You can find it on his SoundCloud if you're interested in downloading or purchasing a copy. I think it's fantastic. I think we should
on my iPod as we speak.
Yeah.
As we speak.
I think we should repeat that every time there's a crew sale, just like out of slots again. Just that little clip. We'll have that. No, I tell you what. Every time we do a live pull of something like 100 packs or something, just every now and then someone just hits out of slots again.
Hey, when we get the soundboard queued up, then it will definitely have a place on there.
Yeah, no, where are we on that? I feel like we need one of those.
I need one of those Stream Deck things. I'm working on it.
I believe in you. It's a work in progress.
We do have Stars. You've brought something to show and tell this week that's going to help with our beholder meter.
I have a thing to show. So as people who've been watching the show for the last 2-3 weeks, I would hope you've been sticking around for longer than that. I hope we've built up a little fan base. I set up like an essentially for the show, on my Facebook, because I don't care. And it means that I get to make all the wacky and stupid decisions that you don't on your main account. So, including, in fact, this is a textbook example. So the TOS Begold for Star Trek Day, I was sitting on for 2 weeks, and it was a case of, okay, we need to get people to decide what they want me to pick, and then I think 4 people voted, and I was okay, so it's going to be Kirk, and then I was like, oh wait, I can't stream this live because of technical malfunctions. So what I had to do, gentle viewers, was I had to open Timelines on Facebook, claim the Begold, and then leave it for about 4 days, unable to reopen it because it would immediately go to the Begold screen. So these are the sacrifices that we make. For you.
So we do have this footage that you've recorded. I am now doing. I'm trying for anyone watching. I'm having to screen share with these guys so they can see it live, and also apologies for the confused mess. We'll sort that out in a minute. But so this is your recording of the decision that we made to everyone to say what should Stars pull? Should he pull Kirk, Labor Kirk, Gunslinger Uhura, or Dr. Bones McCoy? So shall we play through the outcome? And you're going to talk us through a little bit of what's going through here as well. So I will press play. And apologies to podcast listeners, this is very much a visual thing.
Yes, so obviously you got your Begold of Labourer Kirk, Bones McCoy, and Gunslinger, as you said. I personally would have probably gone for Bones just because med options are really, really thin on that account. Like, I think my Voyage superstars are someone like Dr. Salar and Racquetball Bashir. So I would have personally picked him, but I am beholden to you, the democracy. So Labourer Kirk, who I think we're about... I'm just clicking through my dailies because I wasn't able to do them for 4 days, so I'm quite behind on the campaign. It's literally playing on that alt is a very different experience. Because it's a case of you get like a 1 times premium pull out of the daily rewards or whatever, and it's like you get a blue, and on normal accounts you're like, dang, can't do this. But here it's like, I'm pretty sure I do one at the end of it. I get Ensign Mendon, and I'm like, Ensign Mendon, because that's an actual card I can use that will. It's probably going to be a Voyage mainstay, knowing my luck. But on that note, so I do my 2 equips that I can do on labor because I don't have any items. And I think he is my number 1 eng, right ahead of Commander Scott at 2 out of 3 stars, level 30. These are my engineering superstars because of. I don't put a lot of time into this, I will admit, because like I've been stuff, but also it's a case of I think it's more fun to struggle a little bit. In fact, here we go. So my number 1 command is Green Kirk at 1 star. Isn't that lovely?
Wow.
Like, look at these. Look at these. Do you remember finding use in these? I don't.
Yeah. Hugh certainly and Idrin. Yeah.
I've made so many alts. I've used them all.
Well, this must be like a nostalgia trip for you then. How many alts have you done anyway? Because this is my first.
I think I'm on number 5.
I think it's interesting if you do an alt and you go to the VIP 0 route and you suddenly get an appreciation for, oh, this is actually really difficult. But, even if, early days when I first started playing, I was like, okay, I'll just do the monthly card. And, even just having that trickle dilithium changes perspective. But yeah, going true VIP 0 is an experience I think everyone should do.
Well, yeah, and it's also a case of, look, I got like a bottom row car item from the Darbo wheel. I can put that on Scotty. That'll push him up. That's the level of I don't have any going. So I'm gonna keep people updated on that. I'm gonna try and bank any premium pulls I get from galaxies, any kind of 1 times from, just because I think it would be fun to do every now and then a pack opening and just show you, hey, this is a decision I wouldn't normally make on my main account, but on an alt that is like much earlier in the game, this might be what you might want to go for. Oh, and that's just me showing off. So my best ship is the 3-star NX-01 Enterprise. And to give you an idea, so I recorded some footage of what my voyages look like. Viewers of the faint of heart maybe look away because there's some Tusculus in here.
Hey.
There's some Grey Crew, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there you go. There's Kirk. He's already pulling weight. So this is the kind of the shabbiness that you can come to expect from the footage that I take. But I think it'll be a fun experience.
Hey, you've got some good Gauntlet crew though. I mean, you've got Duelist Barclay, you've got the Field Marshal Q. You've got a few early steps there.
Yeah, no, and once I get Racquetball, like Bashira,
yeah,
I have some options, but it's a case of getting materials at that early game is so tricky. Like cortical implants and transceivers, you forget how hard they are to get hold of. And it's like, I haven't done episode 4 yet, so it's all of these essential materials I just can't get.
It would be really interesting. We should definitely do a 3-star Gauntlet special and just go, right, these are the good crew for people first starting out, and there's an option there. I'd like to just quickly shout out. Hang on, let me just sort my screen out. Quickly shout out. General Zidanian, who is in the main timeline server, has done a new thing called Nightmare Mode, which I don't know whether he coined the phrase or not. Where basically you start an alt, and you oh, hang on, we've lost stars. He's disappeared. Yes, you do Nightmare Mode where you start an alt and you can only use Grey Crew until you have them all immortalized. Then you can only use Green Crew until you have them all immortalized. Then you can only use Blue Crew. And I think he's going through that, and is definitely the more extreme way of playing the game. But it's interesting to see. And I think that's
pretty. That's nightmarish. That definitely is up to the name.
Yeah, your sound quality's just dipped.
Well, I've been told that my audio is clipping, so I would try to fix that. So
never mind. So yeah, no, thanks, Stars, for doing that for us. Auto, you've got something to share as well. Well, I say to share.
Before we get too far into the weeds, I think you wanted to mention something related to the last event.
Of course, yes. Last event.
I find that very important and laudable. So.
Definitely. So, I think something we want to try and do here is sort of mention people who have sort of, reached the top ranks of the previous event. Last event was a Galaxy for Roger Corby. We spoke a bit about that last week. And the winner of that event was Temporal Agent 7. For those that don't know, TA7 is the originator, the creator of the Data Core. Also completely VIP 0. So not only did I'm assuming gender. Not only did they win a Galaxy event, which has got to be an incredible amount of tapping, which I can't stand Galaxy events as they are, so kudos for that. But yeah, not only that, but completely VIP 0. So that's an absolutely fantastic achievement.
And Star's alt is right on his tail with the VIP event rankings. So.
I because of that gold, I couldn't even participate. I couldn't even get the premium thing. I was really annoyed about that. But I did it for you, gentle viewers. Mind you, it's like I forgot how intensive Galaxy events were just because I've been kind of avoiding like ranking in them for a little while. I've wanted to build up my chronoton bank a little again. I think I had to spend something like 7,000 chronotons. So it was worth it because I really wanted Corby, but I think I ended up spending like 6,000 chronotons and I got 333. So I can't even imagine what TA7 was doing to maintain that rank.
It's a stupidly high score.
Arms, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a stupidly high rank, and it's a stupidly, the SR turn-in must have just taken, the super rares when you turn them in, must have just taken so long, unless they were doing it as they went along. But no, definitely kudos, and I think going forward we'll probably point out a few names or talk about event winners, and maybe talk about what it might take to win an event in the future, because there's always that achievement in the game, which is win number 1 in an event, which is the most dickish achievement there is possible, because, oh my god, I've never even set my eyes on that. There's no way. I mean, also, you've done it.
What does it even get you? I'm curious.
It's 1,300 dilithium.
13
that
days.
Seems low. That seems very low.
2 weeks worth of...
Yeah, well... You do it for the prestige of telling your children that you won an event.
Back in my day, before it shut down, we had this event. I spent all weekend doing it.
Don't talk about the fact that it's a digital game. Don't do that.
Oh, sorry.
Scary for everyone. You've ruined it all.
This game will last forever. Star Trek Online's still going. Anyway, moving on. Also, we got some for us. We'll talk about... Go on.
Just a little piece of news that I thought was noteworthy. We had a server update this week. The TLDR is they've improved ship battles. Quote, this means that anything that could prevent a battle arena ship battle, I guess I didn't proofread that, from completing properly, I guess I didn't proofread it, will no longer negatively impact the relevant daily missions, likewise for temporary achievements. So essentially, we had those temporary achievements for Homestead of Janeway. No, not Homestead of Janeway. I'm sorry, the more recent one with the dilithium and packs and everything. And one of them was for the arena battles. Sometimes the battle wouldn't register properly and you might end up with only 69 of 70 battles done. And so you couldn't get that reward. So they put in a fix for that. I know it's been a problem for a while, but I think a few people had that problem with the recent achievements. So it's nice that they came out with a fix fairly quickly after that bothered some players. So hopefully that won't plague anyone in the future. I think we're going to have more temporary achievements coming. Who knows when? But they sort of alluded to that in the post. So.
Well, yeah, because I think Ben during the Q&A mentioned that they put in some bits in the back end to make sure that they're easier to do. So they don't do that just for 2 things and then stop. That's a significant amount of work, I imagine. So.
I think I remember saying they spent a lot of time working on the back end so they could make this more common. So yeah, looking forward to that. Maybe some Spock related things. Who knows? Because we are entering the eve, literally the penultimate event before Spocktober, which is I think it's getting its fair share of hype, which is quite nice to actually have something like that for an event, which not only encompasses the mega event, but also we assume, but not only encompasses the mega event, but also the campaign too. So, But yes, we have coming up in the campaign this week. Let me bring up. Oh, should we do that? Should we talk about that, or should we have a quick beholder meter? What do you reckon? What do you want?
I'm paralyzed with choice. Let's go beholder meter.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Right. Let me.
Because stars. Are you ready?
Oh yes. You need to.
Just 1 sec.
Oh, hang on. I think it's going to sort his audio.
Talk about a cliffhanger. We need the best of both worlds, Mr. Warfire. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun.
You guys were letting out some terrifying noises in my ears.
Okay. You're sounding much better now, by the way.
Yeah, no, on-the-fly fixes, so for the audience, the watchword of this week, as evidenced by my co-host and myself, is professional.
Every week there is a new technical problem. If you collect all 20, you could win a prize.
Then you get a no prize, like in Marvel. You send in a weird, that's what you get.
A participation award, there you go. All right, we are spinning. Stars, cue us.
Yes, absolutely. So I am going to be the sound guy. Yeah.
Hey, you've got to show people. What have you got?
Yeah.
So your sound guy has procured a Playmates tricorder specifically for the beholder meter. So
yes,
that's gonna until we get our proper soundboard. This is what we're going with.
Okay. We have, this is interesting. Mirror Intendant Kira, 0 stars. Tuxedo Jazz Musician Odo, 0 stars. And Revolutionary Damar, 0 stars. So this is quite an interesting one to start off with. Obviously, we know Revolutionary Damar, he gets a Gauntlet crit. I cannot remember if Kira does.
Yeah, I think she has a 45% set. And actually, a few years back, those numbers would have been good enough. I want to say she released 2017 or 2016. She's a pretty old crew, and so for that time period, she has pretty beefy proficiencies. But I think she's more relegated to events these days.
Yeah, she's quite a good little event horse, but because she sits on Bajoran, Cardassian. I'm not sure if she counts for Klingon as well, because it's the Klingon-Cardassian alliance.
No, ECA has its own trait, so...
Yeah, and she has Mirror, Brutal, I'm pretty sure she counts as a villain. She's one of those cool crew where she'll turn up in a million different events because of some weird trait you forgot she had.
Yeah.
This one's a bit more of a tricky one.
Yeah. She has Klingon and she has Klingon Cardassians. She has both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this is an interesting one because you've got collections with Odo as well. He's definitely a holodeck enthusiast, which is one of the harder collections to fill.
Well, it's like one of the only good things about him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I would default to Rev Damar for the Gauntlet. Besides him, he's one of my favorite characters. From season 7 of Deep Space Nine, he finally grows a spine and he really kicks some ass and climbs that mountain, plants his flag, etc., etc. But the factor to consider here is, okay, so you said Jazz Odo and holodeck enthusiast. He is not a good card. But if you are a completionist, you want to complete that collection, getting stars in a beholder like this where there's no option to knock your socks off might be the way to go, even if you have to skip a few other crew that you might get some use out of. So
yeah, there's a case to be made all three ways here. I have to say, like, while I agree with you that Damar is like one of my personal favorite characters from DS9, I still want Laughing Damar from when Wayun gets his neck cracked by Worf. I want that. Yeah. I want that Damar. I don't care if he's like a diplomacy one skiller. I want that one. And I want the battle text for the ship ability to be maybe we should try asking Worf again. I would probably err on the side of caution and go for Mirror Kira just for the event versatility and that potential mirror collection we're looking at. And also, I love the Intendant. Like, you can really tell that Nana Vista was having a ton of fun playing that role. I'm kind of surprised you aren't going for Auto considering the art.
Well, I don't know who I'm going for, but
I'm torn. I cannot decide. Yeah. You've got this is probably one of the best ones we've had because there's a little bit of everything with each crew. You've got events, collections, and gauntlets, so it's roll of dice, honestly.
There's this scene in Deep Space Nine, and I'll link it in the YouTube comments because it's freaking hilarious. It's just like this little nothing throwaway scene, but it cracks me up every time.
Wayoon number, I don't know, is standing there talking to a Breen guy, and he's laughing and laughing, and the camera pulls out, and you see Damar standing there the whole time, and Wayoon looks over and he goes, "Oh, Damar, I didn't see you there," and it's absurd because he's standing 2 inches away from him, but the camera pulls back, and suddenly he's there because he's in the frame. So it's a hilarious bit of camera trickery, and it cracks me up for no reason. So. Anyway,
Right.
That's my only Damar story.
We'll chalk this one up to undecided. I think this is going to be player choice, and say even chat's stumped.
What does chat say?
Chat is stumped.
I
I
see
mean,
a lot of Damars.
Yeah, I see Akira for the cool.
Odo, Kira for the cool.
Yeah, it's mixed. It's definitely
Honestly,
a mixed one.
we're not going to get any unanimous decision here. I think this is one where you go, which character do you like the most? And I think you could make your case anyway.
Do you like Deep Space Nine? Oh, shit.
Yeah, there's no easy fast rule like with Spike Cap last week, is there? It's like, is it Voyager crew or will they get instant priority?
Yeah. All right, let's spin it. We'll do one more and then we'll get back on topic.
Oh, I'm on.
Hey.
All right, and go.
Okay. Okay, this is an interesting one. So this is a bit interesting, but also a bit of a no-brainer, possibly. 0 stars on Mirror Crusher, 1 star on Merry Men Crusher, and 4 stars on Admiral Nechayev. So Nechayev, you're gonna get her Yusuf from her first star. You got that look, Auto.
Well, I love Nechayev, but all right, is there a more fetishistic name in the entire game than Merry Men Crusher? It just implies what her job is,
Fetishistic name? No, but fetishistic art, I think you've waxed lyrical about Nechayev's school mom appeal on many a time.
Yeah, okay, let's...
And no, she has the plus
Boys
one
Club,
diplomat.
Boys Club.
This one's tricky.
I actually would finish her for the 2 collections. You'll probably never use her outside of the Gauntlet.
Is she diplomat?
But... Yeah, diplomat and
this is going to be the question on every card that I can't remember the traits for. Is like, are they? Is there like the meme with the guy holding the butterfly and is going, "Is this a diplomat?" Is this like that?
Looks at Mirror Wolf. Is this a diplomat?
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
I can't fault the logic behind finishing off Nechayev because not only do you get those 2 collections, but you also just get her off your roster because she's not much else apart from that.
Sorry, you what? You what? Her roster? What?
You get her off of your roster.
Okay.
It's something I usually only say about Wolves and Captain Pike, but Merry Men Crusher for me.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah,
I have.
Because she's such a weird card, and I really like Vanity. Yeah, and the Vanity as well. She's one of the more interesting cards in that Vanity. I'd rather finish her off than Maid Marian. Like, God.
Yeah, Brian Bellard points out in chat Nechayev has ship ability use. I think at 4 seconds she has some good plus attack and some crit. So.
I think looking at Mirror Crusher, I've got her 5/5 because she was in a 490 long back, so I went, yeah, let's do it. And bearing in mind the 2 recent megas have, Soji Asha, God Q, have basically, she's irrelevant for me because she's not appearing. I should freeze her really, but I still can't freeze a gold at the moment. But yeah, I think even at 5/5 stars, Mirror Crusher is not performing above any giveaway crew essentially, which is a very damning thing. Unless we get that Mirror collection that was hinted.
That is sort of the thing, is that every time a Mirror crew comes up nowadays, you have to go, what's the Mirror kind of cut off? When do we expect it's going to happen?
Is this a Mirror crew?
In the chat. If you're in the chat, please just blink for yes. Yeah, I can't. I'd have to go Merry Men Crusher just because I want that Vanity, and she is Medset crew. On the right roster, she'd be interesting. But if anyone picked Nechayev, I would not fault them at all, because that's the logical choice to make.
So, Stellar Ice, noted crew slot enthusiasts, will pick Merry Men Crusher 2nd star over freeing up a crew slot, possibly. So,
that is,
I think you're in good company there.
I think Stella might have... Alternatively, Stella might have lost her way since appearing with us Wales.
Oh, that's right.
Good deal, bad deal, broker.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get to... hang on, not that one. close that one. Let's talk
get down to
about.
business
Let's
and
get
beat the
down to
Huns.
the serious business. The why we all you wonder why I've assembled you all here today. No, we are talking about. No, we'll talk about event in a minute. Let's just scroll back through here. Spocktober has arrived in the form of the campaign, which is starting tomorrow or the next day. I can't recall. We have Science Officer Spock and Kal-if-fee Spock as well as part of our campaign. Science Officer Spock, I am very happy because I have him 1 of 5, so this is the hurrah, it finally fucking landed. I can actually finish him. A very good card in his own rights. Guys, let's wax lyrical. He has been a sort of a talking point in the Big Book chats about where he should be placed because he debuted in 2. He got moved to his own slot in 2.5. He is now 3. So he's... To anyone thinking, should I go on this campaign? But hang on, he's on the way down. Is this someone? Should I invest? Shall I put in my sponks?
That was just the end of a cheeky in joke by us.
Yes.
In fact, the matter is, he's a good crew, and there's some events in italics is sort of the talk recently. How much do you value events? Well, if you do value events, he is the cream of the crop. He's had the most event bonuses in the game to date, and looking forward, he probably has the brightest future. I mean, obviously, we have Spocktober just around the corner. I'm assuming we'll get some kind of bonus for him in the events, and Spocktober is not just the campaign, but we don't know for sure. And then you have Discovery Season 3 coming up. Maybe you'll get some stray bonuses there. And then Strange New Worlds, he will be in alongside Captain Christopher Pike. So there should be ample opportunity to plug him in on the weekends. He's still a good Voyager. I think he's number 70-ish.
89.
89.
89,
It's
okay.
not-
Well, then he's trash. You should probably airlock him immediately. You'll never use him on another voyage. Replace him with a one-star chapel.
I mean, we talk about this and we say, top 100 Voyagers or whatever, but we've had so many people in the last sort of few months come in and in that top 100 range that I think we need to start looking at, say, the top 200 is the 10-hour limit. Well, I think we spoke briefly about the top 150, the top 200, sort of that range grows of good crew that can get you 10-hour voyages, but he's still up there, I think, for just versatility.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's a case of, I think we've gone on record saying he's one of, if not the best event crew in the game in terms of all the different boxes he ticks. He's got all the traditional Spock traits like musician, exobiology, Vulcan, and then he gets the disco tag, he gets the Strange New Worlds tag. Like, I think he's at like 40 events, which I think is like still the highest of all of them. And the thing is, if you couple that with a strong base and decent voyage ability, it's a case of, we had a lot of Psi Command come in around about his time. It was a case of him, there was Timekeeper Tanavik, tons of Psi Command just like every week, but it's slowed down since then. And it's a case of, if you have to invest in one of them, you might as well make it someone who hits on a Vulcan collection, who has all this event versatility. And if you haven't got all of these Psi Command names stacked up in a nice, neat little row, getting him 4 out of 5 out of campaign might actually do quite a bit for you.
Yeah, I think a good comp would be Picard in number 1. That was a recent Mega crew. I'm sure most people listening have him from the Mega. Maybe you took a break, but that sort of destroys my analogy. So if you have him, he's just 30 points ahead of Science Officer Spock in Psi base. So if you've been impressed with Picard number 1 on shuttles, Science Officer Spock is very close to that. That's sort of what you can expect, I think.
Yes, he's a really, really good card. And the thing is, I was thinking about this because I had Science Officer Spock sighted up from 1 out of 5 to full as soon as I could, because I was like, this is a good investment. This is a really good card. He debuted even stronger than he was now. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, should I dupe him? And the fact of the matter is, I don't dupe. That's not my play style. But if there was ever a card to dupe, this would be one of them. Honestly.
That was going to be my next question. So a lot of people say those that have him 3 or 4 or 5, or even have cited him up because he was good when he, not that he's not good now, but he's outstanding when he launched. If you've got a 5 or 5, do you want another 4 or 5? And that's got to be a yes. It's not a hard decision.
Well, you could even make it a 5 out of 5 with legendary citation, and guess what? Especially with Spocktober, if we're looking at like a Vulcan Mega or whatever this is mysteriously going to be, our cryptographers are still hard at work on the mysterious cruise of WRG. Still cracking those numbers. I think you could do way worse than duping this base, this event count, this many tags. Probably one of the better event campaign crew we've had in a while.
Well,
There was a little bit of a drought.
Whatever fusion level you have them at, I would hang on through this month and see what happens. Spocktober, maybe we get some discount packs with Science Officer Spock, and you can pick up a last star that way as well. So he's probably worth citing if you care about events. If you don't, he's in the maybe pile. But I think there's a high likelihood we're going to see more Vulcans, more Spocks this month in Spocktober. So I would hang on to him before you make a decision, but he's a good card overall. Stars, I wanted to ask you, as the resident disco enthusiast, Idle, of course, is the low decks enthusiast. What do you think of Ethan Peck's portrayal of Spock? Because I think a lot of people out there are more interested in the card and the character and the art than the stats necessarily.
So this has to come with a bit. So there was the campaign a while back, which was Captain Spock and Fugitive Spock, which is the 4-star version of the Disco Spock, and he has the beard. And I have to admit, I prefer him with the beard. It does a lot to visually distinguish him from Leonard Nimoy. But what I have to say on that track is that he is extremely good. I think he straddles that line of Vulcan logic and human rage, especially in his interactions with Burnham, that you don't you see hints of it in Nimoy Spock in TOS and in some of the movies, but you feel like he's a bit more raw, he's a bit more young, he doesn't have the self-control quite yet, and he gets really acidic. Like, people always say, oh, Bones and Spock, one of the most vitriolic best buds of all time. They can throw down, but I don't think he was ever nearly as vicious to Bones as he was to Burnham in some of those scenes. And Ethan Peck really delivers it with that, I am your sibling, and that means that I simultaneously love you and am able to destroy you on an emotional level that no one else can compare to. And he nailed that perfectly. And he's got good chemistry with Anson Mount. I haven't seen the short trek with Rebecca Romaine as number 1, where they're stuck in the turbo lift together, but I hear it's really quite good.
It is very good. It's another sort of point towards sort of Spock's human side coming out a little bit, which is interesting.
Yeah, like, I think that everyone can always say it's a case of Spock is probably the most overdone character in all Star Trek, apart from maybe you could make an argument for Worf because he was across so much of TNG and DS9. But the thing is, yeah, you're not going to be able to. Nimoy is the originator. He is the OG. You cannot top that. But I would Ethan Peck is a very strong contender. I think they picked a very, very good actor for him. The portrayal they're going for is very, very good, and I am very excited to see what they go with in Strange New Worlds for him.
Definitely.
So hot. So hot.
The Q&A one, and I've been doing my own. Because as I say, I've never really watched the original series all the way through entirely. Picked up bits and pieces there, and I'm doing a rewatch now. And yeah, I'm surprised about the amount of emotion he shows. Like, in those early episodes, there's definitely a moment where Captain Kirk comes back to the bed and he goes, "Jim!" and he smiles, and there's like a proper vibrant, I'm really happy, and then he goes, "Oh no, wait, I'm a Vulcan." There's definitely those little breaks, and you get a little bit of that in Q&A. So anyone that says, "Oh no, Spock should be logical all the time," well, no, he smiles and cracks jokes with the best of them.
Even the episode recap we did last week, if he wants to be cheeky, he'll crack a grin, and if Bones is getting under his skin, it. So
yeah, definitely. Do you think in Strange New Worlds we will see a young Bones, or do you reckon we'll see a young Sulu? Do you think they'll do that? Because they won't do Kirk, because Kirk has
dangerous territory.
Because Kirk apparently, is setting the episode. Was it the Menagerie? I've never met Captain Pike, so unless they do some sort of off-ship thing where they can tangle it, with chances are we won't see Kirk, but we could see some of the other established cast in Strange New Worlds, which would be interesting.
See, the problem here is that, so for me personally, Ethan Peck is the number 2 Spock. I like him a lot more than Zachary Quinto. Nothing against Zachary Quinto as an actor, but he's had way weaker scripts, way less to work with. But on the flip side, Carl Urban as McCoy is impossible to top.
He's great.
Like,
I love Carl Urban.
If you had to keep one bit of Kelvinverse casting for TV Star Trek, Carl Urban would be my pick every minute, every time, every moment.
Yeah.
Are you out of your Vulcan mind? I just love that. He turns around to him.
I think he's a New Zealander by nature. He
Yeah.
does a really good Southern accent.
It's funny because he sounds to me like a parody of Bones, and it's easy to do parody of crew or of actors, of characters that everyone knows. But at the same time, it's like the parody is so good, it's so spot on, you don't even mind. Like, you know, he's doing a parody, you know, he's putting it on a little bit, but it's good enough that it just lands with
He
me,
owns it,
so.
you know. He definitely takes that character into himself, which is I that makes me wish we had Kelvinverse characters, because I would definitely love to have his version of Bones.
I would like hoard every Kelvinverse McCoy I could.
Yeah.
But on that sort of note, it's a case of, I think again that's a case of where the script kind of fails, where it's a case of they're doing the TOS reboot, so everyone is like 150% of who they are in TOS, but different, and that's why he probably seems like a parody of himself. Because especially if you watch Carl Urban in something like Dread, he can do extremely subtle, extremely nuanced character if he's allowed to. And I feel like if you brought Carl Urban into Strange New Worlds as a younger McCoy opposite Ethan Peck, I feel like you would get the script that is deserving of a more serious, less parody-ish portrayal. And I also think that this leads into one of my favorite stories about the 09 movie, which I'm not a massive fan of, but there was a lovely anecdote from Leonard Nimoy where he came on set and he was like watching Carl Urban play McCoy, and he was like drawn a little bit to tears because it was very much like watching DeForest Kelley on set. So I feel like even if it is, you know, the amped up parody-ish version, I give it a pass, because if it's good enough for Leonard Nimoy, it's good enough for me.
That's cool. But Science Officer Spock, very good. Yes,
if you like, we could talk about Carl Urban in Doom. You know, if you really
or Aoma. I need to watch The Boys. I've still not done it yet, so no spoilers, please. Okay, let's talk about the other campaign, the super rare crew that is for offer. Kal-if-fee Spock from the episode Amok Time, consumed by blood fever and having to exercise his demons onto a Kal-if-fee Kirk. We have Tier 6's super rare crew, Sec Psi Command. Worth it for anyone, or are we just talking about a little bit of a shuttle filler here?
Well, he's a bit of an interesting prospect because he's very old crew. But me and Otto were talking about him a little bit today, and I think Otto might have a few things to say about it.
Well, it's just funny that you mentioned Spock's emotional outburst, because Amok Time at the end, when he thinks he's killed his best friend James T. Kirk, and he's back on the ship, Kirk strolls in with that shit-eating grin on his face. And Spock can't hold it together. Jimmy grabs him by the shoulders before he realizes that Bones and Chapel are there watching him. So, I mean, it's a fan favorite episode for a reason. As for the card, it's more of an early game piece. I think he's got that triggerless arena damage, albeit a little bit slow. He's got the collection. He's got a lot of traits, so a player might be able to thaw him every once in a while. But his bases are not great, so as you grow out of him with an older roster, he's pretty much just a collection piece. But I think for a free track of a campaign, that sort of hits a lot of notes for me, because arena damage isn't the easiest to come by early on. Sec Psi is not the easiest to come by as a combo for voyages. So yeah, I think he's fine. And you know, if you have him and you're a veteran player and you're more worried about the gold, but then you also have a great gold to go with it. So I think he's a step up from the Amanda Graysons of the world. Let's say that.
I know that that's your attempt at a segue, but I do have to also point out.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
It's too good for this world.
Yeah, it was too good. Now I have to kill it mercilessly in its bed.
We'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post. We'll just whip things around. So the actual one sort of biggest redeeming feature of Kal-if-fee Spock is that he is, I believe, set primary, which is extremely rare for Spocks. Like, the only other ones are like Gladiator Spock, and then your other options are Fugitive Spock secondary and Gangster. So it's a case of, if you're looking to fill sec seats, which there always are, he's going to make shuttles on a Spock faction event. So while his bases are horrendous, it's not so horrendous amongst Spock variants if you don't have Gladiator, like some lucky people do. I don't. We can't all make wonderfully informed decisions.
Let's take a small diversion. We've been talking about Spock too much. There's time for that. There's time to get back to Spocktober. Let's talk about the other remarkable thing that happened this week, which the Tuesday pack. Now we go on.
No, you said remarkable and made me think this is a very special episode for two reasons. One, I'm drinking wine for the first time.
Oh, for the first what in your life?
No, first time on the show.
Do we need a live reaction here?
And in the interest of sophistication, well, I'm also wearing pants for the first time on Timeline Talks.
Oh, I knew
it's
I forgot
getting
something.
a little bit nippy outside, so I think we'll have a lot more. Yeah, Idle and I both have hoodies on. It's getting a little bit colder, and maybe instead of being cooped up inside with a game, we'll have to spend time with family over the holidays and other such terrible things. So.
Oh gosh, yeah. No, I was lamenting.
So wait, does this mean that during the drunk stream, when you were so drunk that you had to get up and go to the bathroom, and we all thought you might have died and passed out, you weren't wearing pants?
Shorts, they exist. Okay? Except for the Kivas Fajo episode, that was Commando.
Okay, so this Tuesday's pack, we had the release of Breen Disguise Kira to complement Breen Disguise Dukat, and that was okay, cool. We get these interesting crew come in Tuesday packs all the time, but this was a bit shocking because she actually, after all the numbers, we sort of crunch everything down. Turns out she's the number 2 Voyager, knocking Gary 7 down to number 3. So Braxton, we used to be Braxton, Gary 7 now. Braxton, Breen, Kira, and then Gary 7. So she's for such a weird sort of episode, sort of what you would sort of probably class as a super rare, essentially, if you were to look at her art for the first time. Actually, no, gold card and stunning Voyager. Sec Dip Command as well, which, albeit being one of the more common pairings in the game, still, we're talking about someone that beats Koloth here. This is worth. Is it worth your time to delve into a 6-pack? Otto, you've had some experience in this recently.
Well, first of all, it's worth it just for the Austin Powers reference. Who does number 2 work for? Yeah. She's the number 2 Voyager. You got to work that in somewhere. No, actually, yeah, I did pull for her. I said because I am a slave to Voyage scores. That's my favorite system in the game, Voyages. So I said, I'll pull whatever dilithium I have. I think I did 30 packs on the nose, and she dropped in the last slot of the last pack. I was streaming this on Discord. I think I had 8 or 9 people watching, and we're like, oh well, you got in Ashara Yar or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then the very last slot, and I was just, it's a paper thin margin between despair and victory. So that was sort of fun, sort of heart attack inducing, but I'm glad I have her now. And as soon as I get some gold citations rolling in, I plan on fusing her up. Yeah.
So, Otto, just before we continue on, there's a quote from a Bond film that you and I both watched not long ago. And the villain says to Bond, he says, you're quite insane. He says, the difference between insanity and genius is measured only by success. So by that metric, you're
I'm a genius. No, actually, I went back and watched her episode to write her up for the big book. And it's a fine little filler episode, but the highlight by far is she's stuck with Dukat in a shuttlecraft for I don't know how many hours. So they finally get to the planet's surface and to rescue these Bajoran prisoners. I won't give you the whole thing, but at one point they get stuck in a cave. Dukat goes to sit down on the cave walls to rest his breath, and he sits on this spike, about a foot long that impales him in the rear end, and he does the cartoonish, hit the ceiling, oh, and he starts dancing back and forth. And Kira's chasing his butt around the room, has to grab it, pull the spike out. And, she about dies laughing because she is not a big fan of Dukat. And so to see him in this much pain and misery brings her such joy. So she throws in the dermal regenerator and he tries to mend the wound on his posterior. while she's dying of laughter, and he forgot to turn it on. So he goes, "This doesn't work." She goes, "You have to turn it on." And she's, can barely get 2 words out while she's laughing. So that part of the episode, at least, is great. Yeah, as a card, she's obviously a very strong Voyager. The, we went back and looked, and it was sort of a melange of our memories of the time and whatever stats we could compile. I think No Name Namer had pulled up an old thread that listed the top Voyagers from back then. No Command IPSec crew has debuted at rank 4 or above since Kalis, and that was 3.5 years ago. That was before they even added Voyages to the game. So the skill set is bloated. If you like to avoid it because it's so easy to acquire, I understand. I do the same, but this sort of power doesn't come along very frequently. So you talk about Gary Savin, Braxton, those kind of crew, some usually only drop about um, 1 rank per year. So if you get her, I mean, even with that skill set, this is, I would say, a good long-term investment. You also have plenty of Kira events to fall back on and traits and other little things as well. But yeah, the price of admission is the Voyage power. I think she pays that off pretty well. And Stephen Reed in chat says, um, another little tidbit from that episode, Kira's Bajoran buddy is also played by the guy that plays Sigma Kolrami, the Zach Dorn that Data bests with the game of Stratagema in early
that's
season
him.
TNG.
I busted him up.
Yeah. So if you've built 1,000 Stratagema items in the game over the years, and you remember Sigma Kolrami, he's in this episode.
I forgot about him. That'd be a cool card.
Why don't we have him as a card?
Yeah, or Data with the on his.
I would love that. That'd be great. And then, that'd be
quite a good little fusion pair as well. Actually, that could be a sort of either side, Data and Kolrami.
Yeah, I'd like. Well, or you could just set it up so that it's like the Yushan, Archer, and Shran, where like they're in the middle of the duel. Have
That'd
like
be cool.
half of the console, and I'd love that.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. Anyway, Breen Kira. So 6-packs are timelines its own form of torture. Some people go in for it, some people don't. If you're a masochist, by all means, wade in there. I'm sticking hard and fast with my rule of cite the ones you love, not Voyage power, because I'm past that point in my life where I need to chase the Voyage power. I just don't feel. Not to sound like I'm judging you. Like, you make your own decisions as a consenting adult. You do what you like.
Those of us that have matured in our rosters are not beneath such things, above such things.
Guess what? From an objective point of view, citing up Admiral Worf from 3 out of 5 with my 2 legendary sites is a stupid decision, but I'm gonna make it anyway. So he's making the smart decision, not me. Maybe. But it's just a case of it's wading into a 6-pack. If you've got the dilithium to spend, go for it. But keep in mind, you can go a lot of dilithium before you get the crew you want.
Oh yes.
There was some poor unfortunate on the forums who I think spent roughly $183, and it was. I'm hoping that he had.
Didn't count the cents.
I'm hoping it was just 183. I'm hoping that wasn't a size down to make us all feel better, because I felt legitimately bad for the guy.
Oh.
So go into these 6-packs with the knowledge that you might not get what you want, even after a lot. Be safe, guys.
Definitely, and just a general PSA: be aware of your budget. Just be aware of how much you spend. Like I said myself, I'm doing 5 pulls. Is unrealistic. I'll might get lucky, but I can't. I'm not good. I'm going to stop there, and I did. But like, I think you have to limit. I mean, I did the Jet Reno, and I pulled until I got her, and I spent 15,000 dilithium, and that was, bearing in mind she then got released for free, was a bit like but you do have to set yourself, limits on what you do, and be responsible.
I can't even pretend like I'm not a big spender, but if 6-packs are your bag because they sometimes release crew like Gary 7 or like this Kira. I mean, we've had some discount packs recently, and I'd be in a Discord server with friends, and they all want to pull on the same packs together so they can compare how they did and encourage each other and talk about these crew and be excited for each other. And I would abstain from them. I think a bunch of people had fully fused Zindi counselors recently from a discount pack, or Zillion Tuvok, and of course I'm happy for them, but I would try to save my dilithium for the white whale, and she came along and I got lucky this time. So, but I think a budget is in a game of loot box gambling. A budget is probably the smartest thing you can do, and stick with it.
Yes, it is always a case of you have to balance what you've got and what you're prepared to spend, and also I hate to, don't get Reno'd because they have done this in the past with amazing crew ending up in campaigns or giveaways or even events. Like my personal worst experience with the six pack was my Serial Colbert chasing him, and I burnt up most of I think it was the 23k lunar year. Was it the lunar year or the centennial or whatever? Dill, and I burnt up most of that going for her and going for him rather. And then he turned up in that 3 gold, 1 purple pack in the event, and I was like, well, I feel pretty stupid now because I got him in like 5 pulls.
And as always, like we saw last Friday, we saw the Niners pack, and we saw another 6 packs at 490. So even if you don't want to delve into 650, there at some point, this Breen Kira pack might be available in the future. Might not, but who knows?
Yeah, if you need to solve your wounds after not getting her or stopping short because you don't want to get burned, there are a whole lot of command dipset crew out there. So, I mean, if probably talking myself out of excitement here, but you go look at the stats in concert next to each other, and you'll see we're talking about marginal differences. So, I'm sure once I built my empire of crew on this, my 5th account, I'll totally switch over to citing who I love only, and that'll make me happy then.
Like Kivas Vajo, you can pretend as a gold.
Have an account that's nothing but like 20 Kivas Vajos, all fully fused.
And 1 Gred Neblog. Just there. All right.
We build things to make us go.
We are smart.
We hit real quick on the...
We are strong.
Can we hit real quick on the rest of the crew in that pack? Because it features one of my favorite crew, Ashara Yar from early season TNG, Tasha's sister.
Yes, who is not Linda Hamilton, despite appearances.
Never thought that. No, you said it.
She looks really similar, especially to like 1984 Terminator 1 Linda Hamilton. Looks really uncanny.
It's the hair. It's the bouffant.
Yeah, it's the bouffant.
I think you've
that's
bullied
all
people.
I needed. We can move on now.
I think talking about her. I think there have definitely been reports also that you've bullied people into citing Ashara Yar. I've definitely heard.
With favorable results. yeah. Plain Sybil Garrick. I'm sure you've seen him around. He's the admiral of Ground Birds of Prey Fleet, and a good buddy of mine. Yeah, I did sort of bully him into citing her because I think she was originally a 6-pack crew, and he pulled her, and I said, well, go ahead, cite her. She's got good numbers. She'll make you happy. And so he did, and I think she made him happy. So.
Yeah, the Stockholm Syndrome, it took a little while to set in, but once it did, he was very happy.
Okay. Shall we move on at long last to the start of what is the first Spocktober mega of what we assume, judging by the fact that it is Spock's mother awaiting Amanda is here for the first mega event crew in this rerun, legendary Dipmed Command. Now, we've seen a lot of Dipmed recently. As I quoted earlier, we've had Soji Asher, we've had brain escapes me now. Q was gone. Yeah. Travers or whatever. Anyway, but yes, we've got Dipmed, slightly unusual command, so that puts her in the sort of humbled archer, Merry Men Troy category. But we want to talk about, would you put your money where your mouth is for a faction event, and we know what they're like for ranking.
So this is a bit of an interesting proposition, because you look at her traits and you go, okay, how is this going to be for a Spocktober, Vulcan, Diplomat, maybe Communicator? I don't even know what the trait's going to be here, or maybe it's just a case of any member of Spock's family or any Vulcan, or it's hard to guess what the mega is going to be based on her. But I have this, I talk about movies a lot with a friend of mine, and I have a saying with him, and that's that a photocopy of art is not art, right? Like if you have like art that you take a photocopy of it and that is not the art piece, it is not the original, it's not as good, right? And I think that's like fair to say. awaiting Amanda Grayson is a photocopy of a photocopy, because you have Mary Men Troy, and then you have Humbled Archer, and she is directly worse than Humbled Archer in every respect, pretty much.
So to clarify, you're talking about photocopied stats, not art.
Well, I don't know. Haven't you waxed lyrical about Scott Bakula's Frontula? For some people, that does it more than Jane Wyatt, but it depends on what flavor of.
Okay, there's so much to unpack here. First of all, if we're trying to guess the mega based on her, we've already been burned once by Amanda Grayson, who was the week one of the last Vulcan / Romulan mega.
Was
and
she?
Didn't have the Vulcan trait and didn't get a bonus. So it could still be something Spock related, telepath, diplomat, ambassador, Vulcan, whatever. So it could still be that. Secondly, I find her art to be, she is the less obnoxious Loxana Troy, because the art that we see in game that you'll be getting if you rank in this event, that is the third dress that she wears in her episode, and it comes in at like the 10-minute mark. So she's doing the quick change.
That's why they make sure to put that she's the awaiting variant, so that they can have waiting variant, and it's the other with slightly better stats. Yeah, so to clarify, with photocopy of a photocopy, I was talking about stats. The art, I think, is actually gorgeous. Like, she looks really proper, like TOS, lovely style.
Ace Dam says on chat, he says, how many Muppets died for that outfit?
More than one. Yeah, so this is an interesting thing where I often see people talk about, it was until we had the humanoid figure, we need more dip crew for megas and like giveaways, and I always thought that was kind of a bit of an odd logic, because dip is one of the most common skills in the entire game, and if you want a dip crew, just go out and get one. But if you're one of those people who really needs like a dip med command, or if you didn't like the look of Nona, Amanda Grayson is like a pretty decent, I wouldn't say upgrade, but very similar sort of prospect in terms of like long-term use. Maybe because it's a slightly different skill set, different order. But save me, guys. My brain is melting here.
Sorry, I've just had a helicopter trying to land in my garden, I think, is what I can hear. Sorry, I just didn't mute my mic there. Apparently.
Why did you paint a big yellow H in the backyard then? What did you expect would happen, Idol?
Sorry, yes.
We were talking about a lot of help.
H is saying hello.
So let's say you are not lucky enough to have gathered Mary Men Troy. You are not fortunate enough to have the amazing Frontula land on your doorstep of your roster. With the two sort of kind of criteria above her. Let's talk about your dip command, your med command, because med command's on everyone's minds usually, unless they've pulled Mycelial Caliber and got the hitters there. Are we talking about someone that could definitely push in those areas?
I think she's got the voyage numbers that she would help at the very least. It's a case of med command is such a weird and obtuse pairing to hit. Like, I think we were looking at Delta Flyer Paris earlier today, and he's still ranked number 10 in command med for voyages. Like, that's how gonzo that pairing is in terms of representation.
Yeah, and he's near 300 in overall voyage score, but top 10 in med command. So go figure.
Exactly. It's a case of you kind of need to get it where you can get it, and God knows that Mary Men Troy has been some people's white whale. Humbled Archer, some people were scared off because they can't handle all that masculine energy. But in the end, it's a case of you have to pick your battles, and rather than going for someone who's in a six-pack, rather than going for someone who's going to be in a campaign, I can't see this event being a massive like free-for-all. I think you could potentially jump in here and get yourself a decent dip med command crew that will last you at least a year or two until you get until you get an upgrade. I think if you cited her from 1 out of 5 now, I don't think you'd regret it.
Well, let's talk also about the potential of, if she is the lead into Spocktober, which we assume because it's a rerun event, she could help you win maybe a Spock or a Spock adjacent card. So if you're a fanatic, I mean, obviously he's a great character. She's got a big diplomacy base, even at 1-5. I guess we'll know on Friday what the next event is. If it's a faction or faction hybrid, maybe she can help you out there, galaxy crafting, what have you. So I think a lot of people do grab these golds to help them out the next week, especially if they know possibly a crew that they like is coming. So
Hmm.
uh, her own merits is one thing, but you also, I think a lot of people will consider just the 1 week bump that they get. Maybe if they have not a lot of other crew to level outside of her, it's not a big ask for them to do that for a 1 week bump.
Yeah, and it is also worth keeping in mind that, like, while her voyage stats aren't going to set the world on fire, she is the number 8 dip base. And if you look at Spock variants, there isn't a massive amount of good diplomacy in there. There's Kolinar Spock and then quite a lot of Dross, really. So if you are looking to dominate the faction sort of segment of the potential Spocktober Mega or Vulcan or whatever it's going to be, we're hoping she's going to get bonuses. You could do a lot worse than go for a number 8 dip base and fusing up from there, especially because you will have lasting benefits from it.
Definitely.
And it's Amanda Grayson, she's cool.
She's Spock's mom.
This is my favorite actress of hers. I did think Mia Kirshner, is it? How do you pronounce it?
Kirshner, yeah.
She did a better job than I anticipated, because I had seen her in some things when she was younger, and she didn't quite do it for me, but she was okay in Discovery. But even so, Jane Wyatt, a very classy lady from TOS, and one of the few that Kirk didn't try to seduce. So she has that going for her.
Weren't we talking last week about?
That would have been nightmarish.
Weren't we talking about last week? Talking about the Delta Flyer saying that Kirk was a reluctant lover. Yeah, I've been rewatching TOS. Bollocks. He was not reluctant. He was straight in there. Anyway, okay, so gonna rotate a little bit to what we were talking about last week, and we discussed him inadvertently, him being the LTO, the 999 crew deal. We actually have Leonardo da Vinci as the 400k, and we won't go on too much because I think we said as much as we can about him last week. But here's the 400k goal, and if you don't have him, he's an old card worth getting. If you do have him, you need stars. Not stars and garters, you always need stars and garters, but if you need stars on Leo, worth going for, I think. A 400k in a faction should be achievable for most people, even if your crew slots aren't, your crew lineup isn't as good. You can definitely chuck a few boosts on for that reason. I would say it's worth it.
Yes, if you have like a decent amount of boost timers sitting around, if you have a decent amount of tokens, and you have like an okay pool of crew, there aren't many crew that I would advise just throwing out there just at the 400k. But Leo is at a similar sort of voyage range to just released Amanda Grayson, for context, and he's much older, with in some ways a more desirable skill set depending on what you've got filled in your roster. It also strikes me as this is like a bit of a litmus test of whether or not you're a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of guy. Because I look at, Leonardo da Vinci is going to be the 400 VP, reward. Does that make you feel better knowing that he was at LTO last week, so you can get another star? Or was he 4 out of 5? You shelled up 999 to finish him, and now he turns up in the event after. That could be vexing.
Especially if someone had him at 4 or 5 and went, there we go, I can pay the money and finish him, and then all of a sudden, hang on, he's in. Okay. No, I'm going to play this event anyway because it's pre-mega, so now I've got a duplicate. There are different dynamics that could happen here, but it's uncommon for them to offer an LTO like that with it then directly leading in to this. I always assume they avoid that.
I think we would have already seen the testy thread on the forums about it if it had happened, but
true.
There's a lot of players, so I'm sure someone that happened.
Yeah, well, it's also a case of, again, if we're talking about crew you might want to do, but Leo is one of the ones that you could potentially do because his voyage rank has not dropped very much over the time he's been in here, and I don't know, like I could think of much worse crew to duplicate. I'm sure there's someone out there who's got like 3 bridal Keikos, so take that for what it's worth. So I'm sure we talked about Rosalind Chow for like 10 minutes on one of these shows. I'm sure someone loves her as much as we do.
Time just around Milan launched. How weird.
Very
And we talked
strange.
about Leo last week, so let's not
Yeah.
wax too long. He's good. He's worth 400,000 in a fashion, absolutely. If you
Hmm.
can do it, even if you have to burn some boosts, he's a good gold. He's worth a crew slot, and damn, has cracked me up in chat with Leonardo da Gimli. Of course,
Yes.
if you weren't here last week, John Rhys Davies plays Gimli in Lord of the Rings, so there's another good character link for you.
You could have sliding Leonardo da Gimli if you want to put in that sliders reference, because that was one of his big TV breakthroughs.
That's
Anyway,
right.
let's so this being a rerun, we're seeing some repeat crew. We are seeing Temporal Agent 7 and Commander Chapel. Should we just talk about Temporal Agent 7, because she's a very old card, and if I remember my Timeline's history correctly, she was in one of those very first best chance of getting packs, good deal, bad deal. Aficionados might remember that from back in the day. But yes, Temporal Agent 7, potentially an old card, a 7 variant, which always gives her a little bit of a boost up, but for super rare, worth getting this late in the game.
So I have to point out, I just recently finished off EB Suit Tuvok, yeah? And out of curiosity, I was like, this is a 3-star crew, he's a new one. Why does he have better bases than someone like Disguised Tuvok or Temporal Agent 7? This is the level of bad base crew we're getting. And it takes a bit of the sting out of it that they have Vulcan and Borg, that collection value takes some of the sting out of it, but that's the kind of the level of crew you're getting here, where it's a case of 3-star crew have better bases, actually speaking. And there's a 3-star crew, like 3 stars with 3 skills. So if you're looking for a Voyager, she ain't it, Chief. But I want to give a special shout out here to Automaton 2000 for correctly guessing that this would happen in his Big Book note, saying, "Hey, if you ever want to get a copy, a copy of Leonardo da Vinci in a rerun, you might want to invest in this crew." And lo and behold, I think 2 or 3 years later, it's actually happened. So
one of the 400 cards, he had to get it right at least once.
Yeah, there's
Even
been
a blind
a
squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. No, but this was a different. I mean, this was a different era, because his event was 3 years ago. So as useful as he is now, he was a monster when he came out. The first crew with Eng Symed. And so, of course, you wanted him if you could. Even getting a tangential piece like this bad base Temporal 7 might help you get a copy in a rerun. So yeah, he was a monster back then. I still had passion for the Big Book, and I looked at those deep dives, and of course, the one that I could find for her outside of the collection, which was non-existent back then, was to help you in this rerun. So I'm not sure she'll still help you in this rerun with those terrible bases, but with a 3x bonus, I think she'll still make shuttles.
Auto,
You look like you ate some bad seafood. What's going
Had
on?
passion? Where did they all go?
I don't know, man. This game beats it out of you.
Can
We're
I just
here for the credit pack openings?
Can we just have a brief diversion into arts chat and just why does the top half of her body look like she's standing still, but her lower half is some sort of running? There's definitely sort of no dynamic there. It looks like sort of the artist sort of halfway through forgot what he or she was doing.
So for most of this episode, she's chasing Captain Braxton around the ship. He keeps flipping between time periods. She follows him, and then she's chasing him down corridors. That's like the gist of the show. But of course, she also always has to have perfectly coiffured hair. So I think it sort of makes sense from that point of view, but the juxtaposition is a little odd, yeah.
Moving on, let's talk about everyone's favourite Chapel Major Barrett variant. Major. Was she? No, Roddenberry. What was her maiden name?
Major Barrett Roddenberry.
That's the one. Yes, thank you. Sorry, apologies to the First Lady of Star Trek. I knew I was halfway there. Commander Chapel is your threshold reward, so 3 or 4 stars on her. She has probably not aged as well. I've got Symed Dip here. I think that's wrong. Is that right?
I think that's right, yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, I don't know, because
I think that's correct, yeah.
I don't spend my
go on.
my idle hours looking at Commander Chapel, but I think that's correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Some people do. Some people look at their away team number 1 and go, "Oh, days." So you say she hasn't aged terribly well. I don't know. I think she's all right. I think she's got those dual collections, right? She's got veteran and I think physician.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the early game, that's a good 2 double collection crew to hit on. Again, she's gonna if you have her already frozen, she's gonna help you win a Da Vinci, so she's not that bad. It's sort of also interesting because this sort of segues into the thing of we have, I believe, 4 variants of Christine Chapel in the game. We have this one, we have 1-star version, we have Christine Chapel, the 4-star, and then we have TMP Chapel. And it really makes me laugh that TMP Chapel, the 1-skiller, has worse bases than the 3-skiller who came out, about a year ago. It really makes me laugh. That's a particularly poor card. So, in the hierarchy of chapels, as we say in the big book of Major Roddenberry Barrett watching guide, she's probably number 2 in the tier of chapels.
And it's interesting to note as well, and this always blows my mind because in the 90s, all of us were very young and not quite aware of the timeline of where things were occurring. But at the time she was playing the not the motion picture, but the later Star Trek films version of Chapel, she was also playing Loaxana Troi. So it's really hard for me to sort of separate them as the same person because she plays them so well. Loaxana being very flamboyant and sort of Commander Chapel being a bit more reserved and a bit more, albeit with a bit more limited screen time in the later films. But
it's interesting that she came up considering Corby was last week.
Exactly, yes, that's true. Yes,
I believe that was intentional.
I would like to think so because we were literally just talking about the fact that Christine Chapel in the blue, the 4-star version. That's the version in where What Little Girls Are Made Of. So Corby did last week with a bonus for this one, where there's another Chapel variant. I feel like that's intentional. Even if it isn't, give someone a raise.
We're gonna have to probe Ben on this next time he's on the show. Is like, do you intentionally do these little unintentional segues for us to try and do you piece little clues in there between events?
Yeah.
No,
of course we do.
Here's the thing. That's not what he says. He'll look off to the side and go, there's a lot of crew.
Yeah.
Love you, Ben.
Oh yeah, so sorry.
We're like tying strings, across the wall and drawing lines between the mug shots, and we're trying to explain this to Ben. He's like, guys, there's a lot of crew. Okay? stuff just happens,
We're throwing darts at the wall.
Yeah,
it's just a job.
But yeah, so that's our event crew for this week. I think we've exhausted everyone to talk about. We've gone through the lot. Shall we to ride things out? Unless, do we have any more pressing matters for tonight? Shall we do a beholder meter or 2 or 3?
I would just drop the. There's a little line tucked away at the end of the campaign announcement that says there will be other things to look forward to during Spocktober. Stay tuned. ... Only 2 dots, so it can't be that exciting, but that's more than 1 dot, so there's definitely something coming.
Is that like when someone texts you, if they only put 1 kiss, it's like that, but if it's 2 kisses, oh...
Who's been texting me kisses, Idle, huh?
Who texts? This is 2020, who texts anymore? Let's spin this, spin the beholder...
communicate telepathically.
It's all through Discord.
Beholder meter sound effects.
Let's do it, come on, give us the tricorder. So good. Okay. We've got this is just the day of Kira's today. We have I forget her name now. Which one is she?
Is it Queen Guinevere?
No, it's the one with Marquis. No, it wouldn't be Marquis Kira.
No, disguised.
Disguised Kira, 0 stars. Zephyrin Cochrane, 0 stars.
We do this for fun, guys. That's why we're so unprofessional.
Professionalism.
And Kira in a very fancy dress. In a very fancy dress. Decoy Kira, 0 stars.
This is kind of a
Picky Kira's.
This is a slam dunk for Decoy, really.
It's got to be because Disguised is 2 skiller. Zephyrin is. A
Now,
giveaway.
It's all about the art, man.
While Chet weighs in on this, what are the odds of us getting a Bada Bing collection? Because off the top of my head, we have High Roller Cisco, we have Diversion Yates, we have Waitress Esri, we have this Kira. Safe Cracker Nog. I think we're just missing Bashir and O'Brien.
Bashir and O'Brien, yeah. Because Worf wasn't in that episode because he was like, "This is stupid. I don't want to do it."
So we have 5 of these crew already, and 2 more yet to come. What are the odds you think we'll get a nice little vanity for them?
I could see it. It would be about the same size as the Age of Sail collection because, again, it's the main cast, really, isn't it? So I could see it.
That'd be great. I'd love that one. There was an interesting point on, if anyone's listened to the Pod Directive, which is the StarTrek.com official podcast with Tawny, I forget her surname, who plays Mariner in Lower Decks.
Tawny Madison from Galaxy Quest?
Not that one, no.
I have one job on this ship. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it.
No,
okay?
it's not Sigourney Weaver. No, the lead who plays Mariner on Lower Decks, and the guy who we all know, Red Foreman, plays Anorax. They run a podcast for StarTrek.com. They were talking about this very episode recently on an episode they had with Michelle Hurd, who plays
Tawny Newsom.
Newsom, thank you. Who plays Raffi Masika on Star Trek Picard. They were talking about this episode, and they were talking about specifically race, and they were talking about the very interesting point that Cisco did not want to go in there. He did not want to go into this Bada Bing sort of situation. He goes, well, because look at me, I'm a black man. What I'll go in there, I'm going to be subjected to all that kind of thing. No. We took it out. We took it out of the holodeck. And he goes, well, then it's not real. It's not right, is it? So, that's interesting. Always reminds me of that collection. It's a good one on many fronts. And it's worth listening to that episode of the podcast because they had a few guests on there talking about that kind of thing. So definitely check it out.
Well, Star Trek has always been pretty good with that, which I think is why a lot of us,
especially DS9, definitely.
Series, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's partly thanks to Ira Stephen Bear, and also thanks to just Avery Brooks being really ahead of his time, and that sort of wanting to be there for Black fan base. So I have a question for you. This is slightly unrelated to anything else.
That's why we're here.
If you had to choose between a Far Beyond the Stars collection or a Bada Bing collection, which one would you pick?
What?
I think we need a few more Far Beyond the Stars crew in, because who do we have? We've got Benny.
We've got
Benny. We've got Odo. We've got
Kate.
Yes.
Kate and Kira. So I think 4 of them.
We definitely get
Damar. We'd need Worf.
Yeah.
We'd need Damar.
Jake.
Wayun.
Damar and Wayun.
Most of them.
O'Brien and Bashir.
Martok.
So I think we're missing 7. Oh, 8. Yeah. Well, there's a lot. You could probably do one of those.
Mega.
Those like dozen crew, maybe get a gold at the end of it type collections. That would be
I'd like that. You know what? That's what you do. So you make it a Far Beyond the Stars collection, and if you beat all of it, then at the end you get inmate asylum patient Benny from the season 7 episode.
The later one.
Shadows and Symbols, whatever it's called. Like when he's in there with Damar, I'd love that. That'd be cool. I love the collections that give you something a bit more than just a few premium polls.
Is she checking your voyages for you, Idol?
I think so. Yeah, she's just doing my shuttles.
She's working as macro.
Okay, let's keep this a clean stream, please. I put on my pants for a reason.
Yes. Okay, so who would you take here? I think it's got to be Decoy Kira.
Yes, right, Kira, as Chad is saying.
Indeed. Let's spin it.
Well, someone here points out, but Cochrane's a pilot, and to which I say, yeah, and.
Oh.
I think
Careful
he's
now,
like
you're gonna
300.
You're going to alienate our fan base.
Number 2 faction. DC pilot is very annoyed now. All right, let's spin it. One more, and then we'll close it out, I think. Let's do it. Leo, give us the sound.
Sound guy is on duty.
Okay. So this is interesting. So we have 0 stars on Bridge Officer number 1. We have 0 stars on Vice Admiral Janeway. 3 stars on that Dukat variant, whose name escapes me. Bajoran Dukat? No.
Paraith
Dukat, yes. I wouldn't go Dukat here.
Well, I want to point out that I can't remember the gold exactly, but Otto talked me into taking Par-Wraith Cult Dukat because I think, and I quote, "Oh, we can end up with like 3 megas in the future. It's going to be a great investment."
He will. he actually has pretty good trades. So like if you're stuck and it's like it's Mugatu on one side and Captain Scott on the other. I mean, he's got good villain, Bajoran, Cardassian, those are all
I think he's got like Maverick and like he's got like a few good traits. You're not wrong, but it's just a case
hero,
of like he's
hero
done
of the
nothing
Bajoran
wrong.
people, you know.
Maybe in his line.
Yeah. So it's got to be a toss-up between number one and Vice Admiral Janeway there. I nearly said the rude word.
A Janeway toss-up. Right?
I would go number one.
I bet you would.
I would, as opposed to Kira number two. I think I'd have to go number one.
Janeway.
Number
You
two,
go, Jane.
work for.
I think I'll go number one. You'd pick Janeway. I've got Janeway immortalized, and she does a respectable amount of work for me. Not as much as I thought she would, but I know
the thing is that like she's Command Eng, and Command Eng is one of those funny voyage pairs where it's a case of Braxton, you have a few other like high level names, and then it kind of drops off a cliff, and then you've got her, and then you've got some really garbage like Rumble and Earther. So it's a case of she's someone to tide you over until you can get like a really top shelf upgrade. But I quite like her because me and Otto are in a squad together for the upcoming faction. In the case of we were working out what kind of share we wanted to go. But
Just don't say the name of the squad on stream, or they might.
Oh, don't worry. This is a family-friendly stream, which leaves it open for the audience to guess what I put to get around the censors and what I put. And we were working out. So we got Janeway gets a bonus for this next event for whatever reason. I think it's because the trait pool is a little bit too small. And we were going.
She was in the.
Yeah. And it's a case of well, who do we want to pick? And it's a case of well, Vice Admiral Janeway's got that really strong command base, and Janeway is the faction queen. I can definitely see an argument for it. That being said, Bridge Officer number 1 is still an excellent Voyager, Strange New Worlds. I can see the logic in both.
Is there anyone in chat strapped for crew slots that would take the 4th star on the very persuasive Dukat here? I'm not sure.
I know you said that, and someone in the chat, I believe it is Paul Need, says I should airlock him. So that's your answer.
That's one way to free up a crew slot, I guess.
That is one way to do it.
No, I think it's an interesting one. You could go
Janeway for events. Number 1 has better hair.
I mean, it's the perfect end to it, really, because Janeway is event crew this week as well. For some reason, because a lot of people were very confused with that because she was added quite late. But in the original rerun, she was in the original event that this is reran. She was event crew, so I don't know if that was a storyline thing or whatever. But she's there, which makes this pool huge.
Would it have been back then in 2017?
Oh, not as much. I mean, but bearing in mind, we've now got Sevens, we've got Janeways, to a lesser extent, Chapels. That's quite a large pool of crew to push in for an event. So this could be interesting.
Speaking of shoving Dukat out the airlock, is there any chance we could outro this episode with a little bit of crew slot song?
Oh, hang on. I have to load it. I have to find. Hang on. Can I reopen my closed tabs? Yes, I can. Yes, we can.
Spot now, you monster.
No, it's good. I've got it. Let's just play it. Let's play it now, and we will exit the song as we all did along to Shireborn's out of slots again.
I'm out of slots again. I can't believe I'm out of slots again. A card collecting game should have more space, my friend. Yet somehow I've run out of slots again. I'm out of slots again. Oh, Jorlon True can't keep my Romulan. I've thrown too many crew out the airlock, my friend. I can't believe I'm out of slots again. I'm out of slots again. Like a game of Pokemon with just one red ball. I know good things will send, but they will too soon if you keep thinking so small. Walk down the hall and tell them we need more slots again. I'm getting tired of saying he's dead, Jim. It's simple logic, you green-blooded hobgoblin. I can't believe I'm out of slots again. Mr. Spock, we are out of slots again.
That, sir, is illogical.
That's what I told them.
Most unpleasant situation, Captain.
Oh, it just sucks.
Being a red-blooded human obviously has its disadvantages.
Yes, it does, Mr. Spock. Yes, it does.
Affirmative.
I'm out of slots again, like a replicator not programmed with Earl Grey. Shall always be your friend, but without slots you are going out the hard way.
Shut up, Wesley.
I'm out of slots again. Bajorans, Vulcans, and Andorians. I guess today is a good day to die, my friends. I'd say live long, but we're out of slots again. My crew so long, cause we're out of slots again.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week.